following is a production of Dirty Mo Media. Hey everybody, it's Dale Jr. back again for another episode of the Dale Jr. Download, and it is Tuesday, so it's Dirty Air, and my usual co-host TJ Majors isn't here this week. He'll be back in a week or two, and joining me today is Jordan Bianchi. Jordan, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. A lot of fun. Had a good time last time. I can't believe you asked me back.
I'm glad you said yes, because we need somebody in here good that can help us do this show, and you were awesome last time, so I'm thankful that you're here. The Charlotte race weekend, the busiest day in motorsports, the greatest day in motorsports, F1, IndyCar. What's that like for a media member?
For me, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, I pretty much focus exclusively on NASCAR, so my focus is on the 600 and everything going on in this world. My colleague Jeff Gluck is up in Indianapolis covering that, and then at The Athletic, we have two other reporters covering Formula One. So me, pretty straightforward, but there's a lot going on over here. It's that time of the year. Silly season's ramping up. Schedule's starting to come together for next year. There's a lot of things going on, so a lot of news and stuff. So busy stretch. Yeah,
Charlotte was always tough because for the drivers, Charlotte was tough, and I don't know if it's the same. It feels like it is. All the race teams are here, and you're racing in your backyard. There's a lot of requests come in. You'll see teams make announcements around extensions. You'll have Marcus Smith's going to have events all throughout the week, whether they're the charity events with Speedway Children's or whatever. There's all kinds of things happening all week long. A lot of requests piling up to be here and be there. And all of your partners are super excited to come in and activate. So a lot of meet and greets at the racetrack. Your race day morning is slam full all the way from the time you get to the racetrack through driver's meeting into the car. It was just really busy. It happens again exactly the same way later in the season around October when we come back to Charlotte. There's two Charlotte race weekends spike in terms of like how busy the drivers are during the weekdays, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then it would settle back down in the summer, and you get back into the typical routine, come back towards Charlotte, get close to Charlotte, and the requests and things you needed to do. Every team has a fan day. Yep. They get all the drivers out to the shops. The fans come through, get autographs. There's just stuff for the drivers to do. So as a driver, it was a very hectic week. But we had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun preparing for our broadcast for Prime.
You guys were phenomenal. I don't know what you've heard in terms of
I've heard a lot.
It's been really, really. Yeah. You guys deserve all the praise. You guys did a great job in the booth, the studio team, the camera, the production side. I mean, it was really incredible. And I said this on the teardown, and I'm going to say it here. Mm-hmm. I thought you and Steve over the last 20, 30 laps handling the William Byron, Ross Chastain kind of showdown and how that all materialized from every perspective. You guys were so good and so on top of it.
I appreciate that. I will say I got a lot to say about it. The fan reaction was what you would hope. Really good positive reaction around the first race. We got to keep our foot on the gas. We got to keep going to Nashville and beyond and keep that same energy. Now, I wasn't really that aware of what we had in store for our fans in terms of the build-up, the pre-race. I knew what a pre-race typically looked like, and we had our table, Danielle and Corey and Carl, and that was what you would hope it would be. It was almost like a college game day. We had some great energy with fans around the table. Our guys were pumping them up, our camera guys and our producers and directors and so forth on the ground were like, all right, we're coming back. Everybody get excited. But I saw and talked to a lot of those people that were behind that table, the fans in the infield, and they were really that happy to be there. And they were feeling this like, man, this is neat. Right, this is different. This feels like a real pre-race. Feels like this is an important event about to happen here, and you could feel that building and the excitement in just that little pocket of fans that was right down there by that stage in the 30 or 45 minutes leading up to the race.
It felt like a college football environment. I went back and watched it yesterday, and it really did feel you had that energy and the vibe. And I think it helped too. This was a major, right? This is the World 600, and everything matters here. And it just felt important. Yep. It gave it a gravitas. There wasn't this silliness or anything like that. It was like, no, this is an important professional sports event. We're going to treat it as such. Here you go. And rarely do NASCAR fans agree on anything, but I will tell you, I would say 99% of NASCAR fans really enjoyed the coverage.
Yeah, there's some things we can improve on always. You're never going to have a perfect broadcast, but I felt like the first one, we prepared really hard. When I was working with NBC over a 20-week period, we had a long runway of those 20 weeks to sort of get better and better and better and better. And I didn't feel like I was really hitting on all cylinders till the last 5 or 8 races. And then as you get to the final few races, you're like, man, we are really making great content, great TV. This broadcast is on it. And then the season's over. And so I was worried going into this smaller sample size of 5 races with Prime and 5 with TNT that, man, we're going to finish and still not quite feel like we've hit our potential. So I'm thankful actually that we hit the ground with such momentum. We had such a great show. So we're further ahead, I think, after the first show than I expected. And hopefully we can continue to improve week after week. And, they told me they wanted me to bring us on air, which I was like, oh man, I didn't know how many people would be really watching in that moment. It's an hour before the race, so it's a little smaller audience than the actual race itself. But that was a proud moment for me to be able to. So there's a lot. Forgive me because I'm going to talk about this broadcast more than I probably should.
No, can we talk about Adam Alexander too? Because
yes,
I want to make sure he gets some praise.
We have a race to discuss that was really incredible. But so I get up on top of the building on the front straightaway over the top of the suites. Up on top of the suites is our TV booth, and it's an old fashioned booth, been around for a long time, which is fine. I love the nostalgia anyways, but they said, hey, you and Adam are going to stand right against this rail. We're going to track behind you. And I thought, this is exactly like I saw Ken Squire and David Hobbs do all of the 81, 82, 83, 84 Daytona 500s. Every time they came on air, I think it was CBS back in the day, that was the vantage point. They had the guys on top of the tower, on top of the suites, highest point they could get, and they'd have them outside and the track in the background. And I thought, man, this is so old school. This is going to be so much fun. And I started watching clips I started watching those opens that Ken Squire was doing and listening to what he was saying and listening to what were the key thing, where we are, who we are, why we're here, and trying to think about how I can concise, it's a silly, I got the card in my right here.
I think what really stood out to me was you guys didn't try to reinvent the wheel, but you fine-tuned the wheel and elevated it.
It's very basic and simple. It's not rocket science on what I said, but welcome to NASCAR on Prime as the greatest day in motorsports continues with flag-to-flag coverage of today's Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Flag-to-flag coverage was something they used to say always back in the day, so I wanted to have that in there. And true test of man and machine. That was something they would always say often in races back in the day. It's a test of man and machine. Well, I heard drivers talk about that in the comments that some of the media members like yourself had pulled out of the drivers over the days before the race. Was this is a real test of ourselves mentally and the cars. This race does stress the equipment, which we really don't see races do, and so the stuff's just so tough these days. But so I really wanted to kind of hit on those two things. That was a very proud moment for me to be able to do that. Adam Alexander, I've never worked with him before. He's so much fun. He has a very similar sense of humor to me and Steve, so we're already like mid-season form in terms of dad jokes and just picking with each other.
You're dating yourself.
Yeah. And so all of us are. I'll say this one thing that really got me to appreciate Adam. I knew Adam and hadn't never really spent a lot of time trying to get to know him, but the Earnhardt documentary that Prime's doing has come out, and there's been a lot of talk about Dad and a lot of conversation around Dad in my life over the last several months, and Adam's son had his prom, and very important night for someone, a senior in school. I didn't go, but to mine. But it's a big night for seniors, right? And what else? What are the important things that they want to do that night to sort of mark the occasion? Well, he took his buddies. This guy that's never seen my dad race, doesn't know everything about Earnhardt or Dad, and he took him to the statue. They wanted a picture at the statue in Kannapolis before they did anything else that night.
Oh, wow.
I was like, man, that's pretty cool. I don't know how far out of their way they went to do that, but Adam sends me this picture. He goes, look where my boy is before prom tonight. They're all dressed up in their suits. He's like, they wanted a picture with the man. And I was like, that really made me appreciate Adam, I think, a lot. And getting to work with him, I'll say, again, he's got a great sense of humor. I was curious as to how much of the play-by-play he would want to share with me. I like to analyze and play-by-play at the same time. I do that because I grew up listening to Barney Hall and Ken Squire and those guys, and I admired their work of play-by-play between the flags. I will never be able to bring us on air or send us to commercial or bring us back or read a promo or read a card or promo football or a hockey game or all those little nuggets that sponsor reads and stuff that get done. Adam's got the voice. He's got the delivery. That's the man that needs to be doing those things, and I don't want that. But when the race is happening and two cars are trying to figure out how to get to the next corner before the other, I love talking about that, and I can tell you why they're doing what they're doing, but I also just want to say, I also just want to call the play-by-play of the battle between two cars, or what, it's just fun for me to do because I admired Barney's delivery and Ken Squire's ability to use adjectives and descriptions that were things that all of us could understand, and so that's fun for me. And I'm that's kind of not really my job in the booth. It's not really what they hired me to do or want me to do, but I like to do it. And working with Rick Allen in the past, Rick was always fine if I wanted to join him, so to speak, in the play-by-play at times during the race. But there's also a known that when the cars get toward that final lap, that you let Adam do Adam's job.
And have the call,
yes,
if you will. Yeah.
He's got to have that call. And this was an interesting experience because I'd never worked with Adam before and didn't know what he was going to be comfortable with, what he wanted. He was like, we're in the booth and we know we have specific roles and we all are aggressive doing our job. When Steve sees something that needs to be said about the strategy or he says it.
He's a talker.
He puts his hand up and he's like, I'm coming in, guys.
Yeah.
And Adam's the same way, and that's the way you have to be. But we were coming down to those last few laps, and I was going to find out just how much play-by-play I was going to really get to do in that moment, because that's kind of the most important moment of the race. Of course, we had a great battle going on. There were some things that I needed to tell you about the air and what each driver was trying to accomplish and what each driver was trying to think about, why they were driving, where they were on the track, and so forth. And we got inside of 5 laps to go, and Adam was kind of really stepped back a bit.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
And that was the thing for me. And this speaks to Adam being a total pro and one, lack of ego. And you talk to so many drivers who have worked with him, Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, they really point to him as someone who really helped them get better. He doesn't want the credit. He lets the other people be the stars. And I noticed that over the final 10, 15 laps, he just, there was times I'm like, is Adam even in the booth? And I don't mean that in a negative way. You guys were just doing your thing and doing it so well. And he recognized just I'm going to let these guys cook here. These guys are on fire. And he would chime in, hey, there's X number of laps to go or whatever. But he just stood back. And that is very unlike a lot of play-by-play guys, because that's kind of quote-unquote their moment.
Yeah.
And he was just like, you guys handle this. You guys know what you're doing. And it made such for an authentic, broadcast. And you spoke earlier about how you kind of, 5 to 7 races towards the end, it takes you a while to get kind of ramped up. I will tell you this, there was no notice there in the booth. It felt like you guys had chemistry from the drop. It felt like you guys have been doing this for a while. And if you didn't know any better, you wouldn't have known that this was your first race.
Well, it went so well. I'm thankful that it did. I wanted it to be a big success. And wanted people to be happy with it. I was a little surprised, I guess, that Adam did sort of, let that happen there at the end of the race. I was kind of like, come on, Adam, I'm running out of wind.
Hand the baton off to
him. and then, I understand that, and we'll do the hand signals sometimes, but like as we're coming toward that, say the cars are going down the back straightaway coming to the white, I'm ready to, like, for him to start firing off, right? And he's got a plan in his head of, he's already thinking about that probably. He's probably thought about it for days, about how he wants to call the final lap. And then as he's seeing who the players are, he's probably molding that call in his mind as those laps are unraveling in the final 20 or 15 laps. And so I'm ready. I'm expecting him to start picking up steam and start getting momentum as a broadcaster. And he called him across the start-finish line to get the white off into turn 1, and then he paused off of 2, and it was like, hey man, come on in here.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So I said something, I don't know what it was, but like he wanted me to join him in that final lap, which was I was fine if he didn't. If he wanted to just, if he had a mouthful to say and just call the whole final lap, that's fine. But there was he paused and was like, yeah, one of you other boys get in here. This is pretty fun.
He has no ego.
No.
Like he wants everyone in the booth to be the star, and he wants to elevate them, and it's really great to see.
One of the other things I thought that was really fun was we got to mention every driver in the starting lineup. So I think it's as I was watching all of those show opens from the early 80s that I'm fond of, I also caught, I think it's the 86 Daytona 500 on YouTube. I think it fires off right away with the driver lineup, the starting lineup. And and Ken Squire would read the starting lineup with this urgency. And he made it sound like each one of these drivers barely made it into this field, right? Like, this guy, it's incredible he's in this race. This guy, it's also incredible that he's in this race, and he's just going driver by driver. And he had these great nuggets for each one. He would either, this driver from this town, this driver, the 2020 winner of this race, this driver, last year's champion. He had one single nugget that would give you something to, like, okay, I know this guy.
It wouldn't just be a name. It'd be like, okay, this person, an identifiable characteristic. And I remember, I watch a lot of old races myself because I have nothing but time on my hands, apparently. And I always notice that, though. A lot of the old coverage, you would get the hometown, and it always worked out. And you're like, oh, okay, so-and-so driver, or so-and-so is a champion from this series. And it was great. And I loved how you guys did it because, again, it felt like an old school broadcast in a new form.
We each rehearsed it, and then when we did the real thing, me and Steve, so Adam reads his 5 rows and then tosses it down to pit road for a word on a driver down there. And Adam does a great job because we knew he would. And then I did mine, and I was real happy, and I high-five Steve, and Steve does his, and he does a real good job. We fist bump. And then Adam reads the final 5 rows or final rows, and Adam's like, I don't get any high fives or nothing.
Where's the love?
I know. I'm like, dude, you're like the pro. We're lucky to be here. And it was just a fun moment, and I was so anxious to hear it back to see how it sounded because it felt pretty good. I know that that's such a small, tiny thing in the whole day, but literally, I don't know how the other, I'm sure, like Corey and Carl and everyone else that's kind of a competitor or has a competitor spirit. Like, I look at every little thing that we're going to do and I want to crush it, right? And I'm not going to, but I want to crush everything that we're going to do, everything I'm going to be a part of. Calling up Seabell on the radio. I want to ask the best question I could possibly ask. What is the best question in that moment? And I don't want to flub a word or step on or stumble or anything. But it was a lot of fun. The other thing I want to note, there's a couple more things quickly before we get to the actual action of the race. Danielle and Carl and Corey. Danielle is awesome. I'd never worked with her before.
Total pro.
Yep. She did an awesome job.
She's phenomenal.
Yep. She had a unique challenge with Corey and Carl being so green, and she had to quarterback a little more than maybe a typical host in that situation. But Corey was great. Carl was great. They're so unique and different, and they're going to be, they're gonna contrast a bit in ideas and thoughts and opinions and so forth, which is awesome. It's what you have to have. Even debate at times will be nice. So the pre-race was great. The post-race was even better. I got a lot of comments on the post-race.
So good.
People are so thankful just to have a post-race.
That was the big thing. Is fans have been craving for a post-race show, a pre-race show too, to some degree, but the post-race show, to bring William Byron over fresh off the stomach punch of finishing second and having him sit there. And I thought Carl Edwards' interaction with him was really good because Edwards doesn't really know William that well. He's just, they didn't really cross paths too much. And it was like Carl was learning this in real time, and you could see that. And William handled it really well. And to actually have that and to pull that out of William was really a huge win for the sport.
I had a high standard for our pre-race show because I always thought the one Marty did when I worked with NBC was awesome. Marty Snyder has such great energy and knowledge of the sport that I was like, man, that's a great pre-race show. He always got me amped up. And but I was really happy with our pre-race, and our post-race was really awesome. And the great thing about the post-race, there's a couple things. There's something that we call there's something that happens before. I tweeted about this. Before we come on air with the pre-race show, they basically just turn the cameras on and turn the stream on and just capture ambient sounds and video. And so that I don't know when that starts. It might be 10, 15, 30 minutes before the actual show is going to begin, but the stream is up. And you can go on Amazon Prime and you can click the thumbnail, and it puts you in the racetrack. It puts you wherever, and they're showing you the garage. They got cameras roaming around, and they're just showing you what's going on, right? And it's just you're just about, seeing everything that's happening.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I love that because there's no dedicated time. Like, all right, man, the pre-race is going to start at 10:30, so I'm gonna sit down at 10:25 and then click the thumbnail and wait. Like, you can turn it on, and you'll have the ambient sound and noises and video of the track, and walk away, go to your kitchen, get your stuff, and you'll hear when the pre-race begins. You'll hear, it's just I think it's a real fun, comfortable way to launch the day, and that's the luxury, I think, of streaming. The other luxury of streaming is our post-race is fluid.
Yeah.
It might, if we feel like we've got everything done and everything that we could possibly share in 30 minutes, that's when it'll end. If it needs to go longer, it'll go longer. We don't have an out. And if there was just so much going on that we need to be on there for an hour and a half, they will.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about the post-race. And
you got beer too on the post-race show.
We did. That was fun. Of course, the beer guy won, Ross with the Busch Light. But so that was fun. And there was an F-bomb or two that dropped during the race.
Dropped one. They apologized for it. Like, no, this is streaming. Let that go, man. We need an alternative.
I didn't hear that apology.
I thought there was. I thought I heard that somewhere.
Yeah.
And it was great.
We didn't apologize in the booth. I was standing there. I was wondering if Adam was going to do it, because if there's something that the producer might just talk to one person and I won't hear it. They might give Adam a cue or an instruction, and it doesn't come to me. So I was sitting there waiting for Adam, and no apology. Okay, all right.
We like that.
And I said hell one time. That's a hell of a pass or a hell of a job. I almost said Mike can believe. I almost said son of a at the top of the show. So we were our very first on camera, and I was talking about how difficult the race is mentally, and I was about to say, and the son of a bitch that wins it. But if you want to watch it back, I might have been son of a gun, but it probably would have likely been a son of a.
That's what we need now.
Yeah.
Fans would love that.
Yeah.
I mean,
that would have not have been good. Top of the show, first show.
Sets the tone.
No, that'd probably be a little strong. But I'll say, like, I do this podcast and we cuss like sailors on here, and my cussing has ramped up since I was a broadcaster a year and a half ago. And so I need to chill because I'm gonna walk into something. I'm gonna step on something. I'm gonna step on my, you know what, in that booth if I ain't careful. But just a lot of great effort. Can't say enough about how great a team it is. And again, a lot of familiar faces, but some new ones as well that are a pleasure to work with, and everybody's getting along really good. Hey, it's Dale Jr. Did you know that we've got brand new merch from our Stars, Stripes, and Beers collection available now? We've got tanks, tees, beach towels, and more just in time for summer. Check it all out at shop.dirtymomedia.com. The race itself, 600 miles, a lot happened. I was kind of going into the event, my notes, there's certain drivers that you're paying attention to for sure, but the thing that I was probably the thing that I've noticed with the next gen car, it's something that I believe is developing into a storyline. And it's because of this car and how similar it is for everyone. It's the organizational performance. Now, we've talked about organizations for decades, and that's not new, but we kind of had like the big three in driver form. Mm-hmm. And now we have it in organizational form.
Absolutely.
Right?
I'd say big 3 or 4, depending on how you feel about 2311.
Right. Well, I don't feel that awesome about them now, right this minute. But you could. I think if there's a big 3 and there's a fourth, it's either 2311 or Trackhouse. It's somebody different every week.
Yeah.
But basically, Penske, Hendrick, and Joe Gibbs Racing, I am seeing sort of this storyline develop of, all right, which one's the one with the strength, and why do I care about that? Well, I'm trying to learn during this entire process, as anyone should, who's going to win this championship. And so we're looking for any kind of a clue, right? And there's a clue in that. And so going into this race last year, the Penske cars struggled. The best Fords I thought were RFK Fords in last year's race, and maybe even the last 2 years at Charlotte. And the 12 car of Blaney actually tested the tire. They had a new left side tire for Charlotte, and he was one of the 3 cars that tested. I was floored at how they all struggled.
They didn't have speed.
Yeah.
And I throw Josh Berry in there too, depending on how you feel about the Wood Brothers.
I throw Josh Berry in the Penske.
The 4 Penske Fords did
sure.
not have much speed. And I thought Steve Letarte had a really interesting point in the booth. And I don't know how much credence there is to this. I have to check into this.
Yep.
But he said what was going on with Indy with the Penske cars. And there was an organizational meeting and everything that maybe Penske on the Cup side dialed it back a little bit. Just because, hey, we can't. We just can't be towing the line this week.
You can't even have a failure by mistake. It is so common to have cars fail once or twice as they go through that tech, and we don't even bat an eye at it really, because we know the teams are trying to push the limits on everything, and teams are going to go beyond those limits. There's nothing like grossly
nothing egregious.
Yes, and man, they knew that they couldn't even have that happen.
And remember, Logano's already been popped once this year.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I just they had to get in and out of there with zero noise. Yeah. So I agree that there's some of that, but I've talking to some of the drivers, they took what they learned from the test when the 12 car was there working on the tire, which is, They're there trying to fix the Goodyear tire and not really testing for themselves. But the data that they gained, they got aggressive in terms of travel and different things. And when they got to the racetrack and unloaded and went out in practice, they weren't where they thought they would be in travel. And they hit the racetrack, and now they're scrambling to get their cars to where they'll just get off the track and try to fix the balance a little bit. So when they went into qualifying, they were still scrambling a bit in terms of, all right, do we got the platform right? Do we got the car, heights exactly how they need to be? How's the balance? They're still working. And as the race starts, they were still behind and adjusting. Now, Blaney had worked his way kind of mid-pack. He was kind of coming out from the bottom.
Yeah, as the race evolved, kind of went from day to night, he seemed like he was getting better.
Yeah. Right as he got crashed out, I thought he was making a run to maybe find himself into the top 15 by the end of the day. Josh Berry, who was horrid at the start of the race, ends up getting a top 15 finish, grinding it out, and they got his car where he was reasonable at the end. But I was really, really surprised again. Like and it's not like this. I don't think it's like a season or a summer long thing. It's just Charlotte. For some reason, Penske and Charlotte they just haven't been able to get it the last couple of trips.
No, I mean, you look at this year in mile and a half racetracks, Penske's been so good. Blaney's been fast everywhere. Josh Berry won at Vegas. Logano won at Kansas. Ryan Blaney won at Charlotte 2-3 years ago at the 600. But other than that, this has not been their best track. Yeah,
RFK was much faster, much more consistent throughout the night. All of their cars were good. I thought before the race started, I thought Keselowski had a really good shot at a great run. He made that as difficult as he possibly could throughout the night.
That's been the story of his year.
Yep. But at the end of the day, he ends up with the result he's looking for, particularly because just a few races to go before we decide the 32 drivers that will be in the in-season bracket. And they may downplay that. I wouldn't and you're talking to the drivers all the time, I would not let them get away with it.
No.
They're full of if they don't think that they want to accidentally win $1 million.
They're thinking about it? Because a lot of the drivers have already said, oh, no, really, it's not changing our focus.
Well, it won't change. It might not change exactly how they strategize to win races or approach the races, but they are thinking about it.
It's going to change how they race people, though.
I know Denny he asked if when they start doing the seating, because he was worried about his bad performances lately, if that was going to affect his seating.
Right.
So the drivers are thinking about it.
They're lying if they're saying otherwise, because every one of them would love to pocket that money. And it's like the easiest $1 million to win of anything else in the season. It won't be easy to accomplish it, but honestly, man, you could just really get lucky on the seating. You could have some guys just really have some really nice rounds to find their way into those final few races and somebody has a failure or a mistake or just a terrible race. You might have a really kind of for lack of a better word, a fluke winner of this whole thing. That would be fantastic.
So Nashville doesn't count, and then the next 3 races is what they use to seed it, right?
Yes.
Correct.
But he needs to be in the top 32 in points. Brad Keselowski, he came into Charlotte 33rd. So, I mean, there's some real risk that he might not make it. But if he performs like he did this past weekend, he should be in good shape.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, too, because if you look at the tournament tracks, you've got starts at Atlanta, drafting track.
Yeah.
You throw Chicago in that mix. Like, it's
a
Sonoma.
lot of, like,
it's not going to be easy.
Not easy.
You talk about upsets, and I don't want to say this is an upset, but AJ Allmendinger is a guy we don't talk about a lot. He could make some noise in this thing and be a guy who wins this thing. And for a driver and team like that, $1 million goes a long way. That's
a great way to segue to Kaulig, because they were awful last year. They made a massive gain in terms of speed. It's actually maybe one, if not the most impressive story in terms of a team improving over last year. They AJ was up front all night, strong all night, really good in practice. You see those practice times for AJ, and he was second in 5, 10, and 15 lap averages, and you're like, is that real? Is that real? Will he run good in this race? Because sometimes you'll have people that'll do those things in practice, and you're like, that's a fast car. I mean, it's right there. Second in all those second and 15 lap averages, I'd be pretty damn happy if I was that driver. But the race starts and they just drop to the back over the course of the race. But he stayed up in the top 10 and raced even in the top 5 at times, and had a really, really solid night. To your point, if he comes out of, in that bracket, if he survives Atlanta, he's got a great shot there at Sonoma to keep alive.
Mm-hmm.
And the speed they're having at these other racetracks,
they're really good at mile-and-a-half racetracks. Yeah. AJ in particular, people kind of have this preconceived notion about AJ's road course ringer. He's only good at certain number of tracks. AJ's an all-around driver. People don't realize how good of a driver he is in Cup, because I don't think he's been with a big team in a long time. But on the Cup side, he elevates Kaulig to a higher level. He did it 2 years ago. He had him on the cusp of the playoffs. He's doing it again this year. It's consistency. It's professionalism. Yep. They've made some behind-the-scene changes, and they found some speed. AJ is a driver who will get the most out of his car.
Yeah.
And the thing you have to keep with AJ is you have to keep him focused and not sure that, he gets too excited or he gets really down on himself really easily. Yeah. You have to keep him up. And if you can do that, he's going to deliver results, and that's what he's doing this year.
He's currently 13 points out of the playoffs.
It's incredible. That's for that team and organization, that is incredible.
Yeah, that's very doable too. To climb there. I know 13 points is actually a lot. Coming into Charlotte, no driver had ever overcome more than a 20-point deficit to point their way into the playoffs, right? So I would have never thought that was a big deal. 20 points. Only twice had drivers climb their way back into the playoffs, 20 points out, going into Charlotte. That's wild, because feels like there's a ton of racing left.
Yeah.
Right? But that's how competitive even racing around that bubble is.
Let me just real quick on AJ real quick, and I think it's important to note as we talk about his playoff chances, there's 4 road courses left in the regular season.
Yeah.
He is going to have an opportunity not to just get points, but he is going to have a chance to get a win.
Yeah,
and that's the big thing.
Yeah. Some other drivers had really good nights throughout the race. Noah Gragson ran up front with Front Row Motorsports, and John Hunter Nemechek was pretty impressive.
He's had a good year. He's another driver, too. I would throw Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in this mix of guys we don't talk about regularly, but they're just grinding out good finishes. Yeah. John Hunter Nemechek's issues last year was qualifying. They did not qualify well. They're qualifying much better this year, and they're putting themselves in position on race day where they don't have to dig out of a hole.
Yeah, I would compare. I would say similar to Kaulig, Legacy Motor Club has made a massive gain, and I think that gain has happened throughout this season, not so much over the offseason. Jimmy Johnson, now the majority owner of that team, we saw a ton of interesting hires over there over the last 6 months. Jimmy's retooling that whole organization, and you don't know whether some of those hires were retreads, people that had been in other organizations and had success, but why aren't, if they're not at this other organization anymore, why would you want to put them here? But he's made it work. And it's really impressive because Jimmy is spread thin as a human, right? And
he's globetrotting the world, apparently.
Yeah, he is. He's all over the place, but he's plugged in enough to understand, to put the right people in the right places to be able to succeed and get each department going in the right direction, and it's starting to show up on the racetrack. It's fascinating. Incredible job. I would have bet against it. I would have. And, it's for them to go and run as well as they did this past weekend. Jimmy had a great qualifying effort, struggled in the race. He finds himself in bad situations because he doesn't really he doesn't drive the car enough. He just doesn't.
It's a lack of experience.
Yep. I know it's crazy to say that, but this next gen car and the way the air works and how it goes under the car and how you can't be, drivers know as they're going through the corner, all right, I got to do this or that and the other to avoid the bad air situation I could find myself in on exit. They know that because they've done that enough, and he's not, and so he'll find himself in some situations, and he said it flat out. He's like, yep, I put myself in a bad spot. He ended up busting his ass. Not that anybody else didn't bust their ass all night long. There was some cars just really out of shape and getting into the wall. But anyhow, Nemechek's run was solid. They didn't finish the night like they wanted to, but Travis Mack has John Hunter and those guys hauling ass. Even Eric Jones had a pretty competitive night as his teammate. I mentioned Gragson. Hocevar. Hocevar, I don't know if he had enough to win the race, maybe. He was getting stronger as the night was going, as was Chastain and Denny as well. I always felt like you got to lose a few before you win one.
That's where I'm at with this team. They've had a lot of speed. They have performance, but they do not have his results. They have a hard time putting a race together from green flag to checkered flag. Go back to Bristol this year. Hocevar was really fast. I think they had an issue on pit road, lost track position, and it was a struggle to come up. And I would even extend this to like Michael McDowell, for example. Like they've been at that. Spire Motorsports has had fast race cars this year. They just have not been able to lock in and put together a whole race. It's coming, and Hocevar specifically. Yeah, he's lost a few, but it feel like he's gonna he could pop off a win here, and I don't think anybody would be shocked.
No, not at all. He has something special. There's good race car drivers. There's great race car drivers. Then there's drivers who have some supernatural knack for just being fast. There's some guys out there that have this raw speed that most can't compete with. He has to get the rest of it kind of tied together. His attitude, personality is a bit is energetic. It's kind of all over the place. And once he hones that in, right, the field better look out, because his ability to really just be quick and run fast is very rare. There's not many people in the sport, and there's I honestly feel like that he could really, really shine over the next several years when he puts it all together.
Hey, TJ, I've been having issues with my current cell phone. Do you know any good providers that I could look into?
You know, recently, Travis, I have joined the Consumer Cellular family, and I could not be happier. You know, they set me up with a great phone, great people there, and great service.
That's awesome, man. But how's the phone at the track? Because I know a lot of times fans are going to the racetrack, and they really don't have great service.
You know, obviously, I go to the racetrack every week, and with the number 6 RFK team, and the Consumer Network has been awesome. I am really surprised. It's been awesome. No complaints, man. I'm really glad I made the switch. It just could not have been easier. Super happy I made that switch.
So I have one simple question. How can I get this?
Yeah, well, so if you want to switch to Consumer Cellular, it's super easy, man. It's 100% U.S.-based customer service, and it only took about 20 minutes. I also chose the 2 for $60 plan, and there's no long-term contracts. Switch to Consumer Cellular now and get $25 off with code DJD25. That's DJD25 for $25 off when you switch to Consumer Cellular. Go to consumercellular.com/DJD and use promo code DJD25. New customers get a $5 credit on their first 5 monthly invoices. Visit consumercellular.com/DJD for details.
Larson struggled in the return from Indy. Indy was tough.
Yeah.
I just I talked about this a little bit on social media and on the post-race show too. We would all probably be impressed if we got a physical shot of his calendar of May. If you could put his calendar on a sheet of paper or on a tablet in front of you and look at it, I bet you wouldn't believe this kid had to do and the responsibilities, traveling back and forth, meet and greets, photo shoots, more photo shoots, media requests,
practice, qualify.
Yep.
I mean, there's so many practice sessions for Indy 500. He actually was back up in Indianapolis yesterday because they had the award ceremony.
I know.
It wasn't like it ended Sunday night.
I can't believe he went.
Yeah.
Like I would have been like, man, I'm tired. I'm tired.
Can I zoom in?
Yeah.
I'm going to bed.
I'm done. Y'all have it. But he went up there and got on stage and spoke in front of all those people. Yeah. I felt all the way up until the start of the Indy 500, there was a positive vibe around it. Like, man, all right, this is going to be cool, doing the double. We got a guy to watch that's going to do the double. And he goes out there and he struggled and had a bad run at Indy, and there was some pop shots, in terms of public opinion about it. Even McLaughlin or did you see his social media post? You didn't, did you?
Scott, you're talking about Scott about the best driver?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's some, some banter back and forth even amongst drivers, right? And then he comes to, Larson comes to Charlotte and hit the wall and his day spiraled from there. But, and so there's this interesting sort of conversation in social media around like, there's people that want to see him do it again. Obviously, there's people that are big Larson fans that, hey, you have bad days. Then there's the other side that are like, well, I guess he's not
Max Verstappen.
not as good as you say.
Well, Max Verstappen doesn't also put himself in situations, in unfamiliar situations that would make him uncomfortable. And that's the difference between those two drivers.
Yeah. I will say this. I admire Larson's ability. I admire Larson and anyone who's willing to be humbled. And it takes more balls to be humbled than it does to get in something comfortable and fast. Like it doesn't impress me for a guy to get in something that he's familiar with and go out and kick everybody's ass. That doesn't impress me as much as seeing someone get in something they don't know well, and even if they fail. So think about like Chase Elliott or the multiple drivers that have went and ran the Chili Bowl that have never ran much dirt at all in their lives. They're going to one of the toughest races of the calendar year, and they know they're going to get their ass kicked, and they go do it anyways. Even another, William Byron or Chase Elliott, maybe not William because he kicks ass every time he does it, but like when those guys step down into a super late model and go race a snowball, right? They're racing against the best in the country, and they know that it's going to be a tough task to be competitive. And sometimes, most times, they're not, right? And so I'm more impressed by that than anything else. I'm still impressed by the guy that kicks ass in something he's good at. But to know, like, and it's just, I think we expected Larson to do better at Indy, but you could see the signs that it was a struggle this year.
And I mean, a lot of people struggled out there too. Like it's the best in the world.
It was a weird week.
And he owned it. He didn't shy away from the media afterwards.
Nope.
Like,
yeah,
it's a hard race. I mean, he almost made it too easy last year. He made it look too easy.
Think about Kurt Busch too. Many years ago, 12 years ago, goes up there and runs 6th. I don't think we really appreciated just at what Kurt had done. Where like it was just he made it look too easy. Yeah. And now we all think, well, yeah, our Cup guys should jump in those cars and run top 5, right? Yeah.
It ain't that easy.
It ain't that easy.
No, it requires a lot, and people don't realize what Kyle Larson's program behind the scenes was. It was testing. I mean, he went to Texas. I think it was Phoenix was on that list. There's a lot of sim. It's not just hopping in the race car and going. And to your point, the one thing I think needs to be said about Kyle Larson again and again is he's not afraid to fail.
Yeah,
like he is not afraid to hop in something and look bad.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of
that's my favorite thing about it, right there, is that.
Yeah,
I love somebody who's not afraid to fail, and that I'm an underdog lover because underdogs aren't afraid to fail, right? And the tradition, the expectation almost is that they will fail, right? And when they succeed, we're enamored with that. And so rarely do we get to see someone that we know is great put themselves in that situation, right?
It's a vulnerability.
Yes.
And he is okay with that.
Yeah.
He goes to Indy, wrecks 3 times, goes to the 600, and has a...
I don't want him to do it again, though. Do you?
I don't see the point.
Yeah.
I guess at this point, like, it can be done. We know the double can be done. We've seen the double.
Yeah.
Like, to me, the novelty is gone. And if you look at... I'm a big believer...
Why is the novelty gone? I don't think the novelty's gone. I just think logistically...
It is if he does it again next year.
He's done it twice.
I think you need a little break.
Do it.
No. He hasn't done it.
Well, he attempted it.
He attempted it. He didn't do it. Like, to me, and I'm sure he feels exactly the same way, he hasn't done the double.
Sure.
He's not going to be satisfied until he can get to the finish line with great results in both races. And I'm sure that he feels like that he didn't even get close to accomplishing. He fell far short. And so there's probably something in there. His competitiveness is probably saying, I'm not satisfied. I'm going to do it again. But the pure logistics of it has gotten...
It's really hard
to physically do it.
They said like 45-minute buffer is what he had.
Yeah.
But
that's just one part of the logistical nightmare.
It's hard. It's hard on
the whole
everybody.
month is a pain in the ass between both Indy and NASCAR. He's still racing in other Cup races during that first part of the month, right? He's still got his real job to do, and he has to answer to the questions. Which is more important? What matters more? What happens if this? What happens if that? And it's like, man, it's just not worth it. And the cool factor of the the double is there for me. I still think it's a cool thing that if you want to give it a shot, give it a shot. But in my mind, I don't. In my mind, as from a fan standpoint, I won't be that excited about an announcement for him to do it again. I'll be more as a fan, like, come on, man, just let's go win the 600. Does he win the 600 if you don't with that Indy 500?
No, I don't think.
I think he does.
What
You
think what happened in Indianapolis carried over
Yes.
to Charlotte? I don't see it that way. I'm
felt
curious
like
why.
I felt like dude got there and was smoked
Mentally.
And, yeah, listen, his average finish in the 4.5 miles leading into Charlotte was 3.75. The next best driver's at 10, and that's Logano at 10. He's so far clear of the field at the 1.5 miles. This is the home track 2 miles away for Hendrick. He was absolutely flying in that car. And I think if he's not at Indy, right, he busted his ass at the top of 3 and 4 of the bumps. If he's not at Indy, I think he's more plugged in, tuned in, more sharp and self-aware of all of the things he needs to be careful of and avoid to be able to win a 600-mile race at Charlotte.
I look at this as one of the great things about Kyle Larson. What makes him so good is he's able to forget about things. He can be in an accident in a cup car one day, and the next day it doesn't matter. To me personally, I don't think what happened at Indianapolis had any effect because he's good at moving past that. And you look at the 600.
I don't think that the wreck at Indy was what bothered him. I just think that the month of work and travel and
the grind.
Yeah, like he came into Charlotte with that mental hangover.
And to me, I saw a race in the 600 from the 5 team or from Kyle Larson that I've seen before. I saw it at Homestead last year.
Yeah.
I've seen it in another race. I saw it at Iowa last year or Michigan. He is a driver who runs that line, runs
every now and then is going to bust his ass.
Every now and then, maybe a little bit,
Yeah.
and that's just who he is. That's what makes him so great. And I think in that moment, he overstepped, and we have seen that before.
Looking at the stats of what he's done this year at the 1.5 miles, I felt like that if he had no distractions, no Indy 500 stuff going on, he walks into 600 and smokes the field. And I feel like that he didn't give himself that chance. He'll probably tell me I'm full of that I was, it had no effect, much to your point, Jordan. But if I'm a Larson fan, which part of me is, I'm sitting there going, damn it, man, we should have walked in there and won that shit easy.
Sure.
Right? And my guy's car was good enough. He's out front. He's kicking ass. But hey, he wasn't the only one who's snake bit by that corner. Turn 3 and 4 so we drove a pace car around the racetrack early in Friday morning, and turns 3 and 4 has always been bumpy. The rumor is that part of the racetrack's over a landfill, and there's when there used to be a giant hole in the infield because they dug out all the dirt to make the banks, especially in 3 and 4, and they just left that hole there in the infield, and they didn't really fill that in until the mid-'70s. They filled it in with a contract. There's 2 different stories. They called a company that was teaching people how to move heavy machinery or something, or work heavy machinery, and they allowed them to come in there and play. And they said, all you got to do to train your workers on how to drive all this heavy machinery, you can do it for free. We just need this place to be flat when you're done. The other rumor is that it became used as part of the landfill. So there's a giant hill on the back of turn 3, and that's several billions of metric cubic tons of trash from the surrounding counties, right? And they've been putting it there for years.
I had no idea.
Really?
No.
All of that big mountain behind turn 3.
That's not a hill. That's just not a natural hill. That's garbage?
Yes. It's a landfill.
No way.
Yeah. Been a landfill forever.
I didn't know there's a landfill back there.
Yeah. And so I believe that part of the infield in Charlotte is a landfill. And that's why that land might have been a little bit, it could, 1 and 2 is really smooth. It rarely gets, over the course of like 3 or 4 decades, it rarely gets rough and bumpy. 3 and 4 is the complete opposite. They'll pave the track, it's smooth, and then over the next 20 to 30 years, it gets incredibly bumpy because the ground under it is settling. I don't know whether it's because of the rot of the landfill in that corner at that end of the track. Maybe there is no landfill there. I know that's possible. Or there's natural springs or something underneath there because there is some creeks in the area right around the racetrack. But for whatever reason, that corner is constantly settling, right, and creating bad bumps down in turn 3 and 4. So we driving around in a pace car, and all tracks have bumps, right? And so usually the bumps form over tunnels, which there is one going into turn 3. But down in the bottom of the corner, there's a few bumps, and you would always, at these tracks that had those, would move up, and the track would be smooth because there's no bumps at the top of the racetrack. But at Charlotte, actually worse. So off into turn 3, right against the wall, there's a lot of bumps, and it's like running over a series of train tracks. It's like da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and the car chatters and bounces the rear tires or the fronts out from under the car. And then you get through the center of the corner, and there's a couple swells that are pretty big, and then there's big, sharp hammer bumps in the middle of, or the exit of turn 3 and 4 at the top of the racetrack where Larson got loose. And a couple other cars busted their ass over there as well. So I was blown away, and I hope that Marcus and his team, I don't see any reason why they would need to work on the racetrack at all. I've not heard they are. I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying
they
somebody
shouldn't. It's perfect. It is absolutely perfect.
No one has mentioned it, but I would try. So this racetrack, it's so weird. It looks dark. Usually, it's the last time it was paved, I think was 08 or 12 or something. It was a long time ago, but it's not changed in color. Usually tracks fade and bleach out over time, and the asphalt turns to gray and lighter with each year. Well, this asphalt was actually made with rubber polymers, so there's actual recycled rubber in the mix, and that's why it raced like for so long. That's why we moved to the Roval, is because the oval had so much grip. It was rubber on rubber, and they ran right around the bottom, and we did everything we could to figure out how to make them run somewhere else, but they pinned themselves on the bottom of the racetrack, and it sucked. The oval race there was awful. But now the oval is arguably the best oval race.
It's the best
in the season. All right, so there's been some calls for them to move the Roval race back to the oval.
Absolutely.
Now, one would argue that what we've learned in the last decade or so is that tracks don't need 2 dates. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of racetracks that have scaled back to a single date, and they've found success there. They're selling more tickets, and so Charlotte may have fear that, well, if we go back to the oval at that, in that back half of the year, one or both will suffer a bit in ticket sales because people won't go to both races. They'll pick one, and they'll pick the most important one. Mm-hmm. But I still feel like that much like Daytona with the Daytona 500, the 600 being the 600 will always be a draw, no matter what they're doing in the back half of the year. So I believe they could go to this oval temporarily even.
You need to try it.
Yeah.
I mean, because let's just be honest, the Roval has the novelty is gone.
I'm over it.
Everybody's over it. And I agree with your point. You have to be worried about diluting the attendance for the 600, which, by the way, was a sellout again. Yeah. And they've done a great job with that. But the racing is too good to ignore. And at the end of the day, you have to have it more than anything else, more than ticket sales, is the on-track product. Yeah. You have to have an entertaining on-track product. Yeah. And the product is much better on the oval than the Roval. That is indisputable. Yeah. And you look at the fact, a playoff race at Charlotte on the oval, give me that.
This would be the cutoff race, too, in the playoffs.
Well, let's also extend this, too, really quick. Could also potentially be a championship race. Could you, Matt? I mean, because we got the rotation coming. Yeah. And Charlotte should be in the conversation for that. A championship race at Charlotte on this oval, which races better than Kansas right now, Yes, inject that into my veins.
I'm with you. So I would be. I think that conversation's gonna get louder. I don't know that Marcus can make the move in the calendar year to switch it mid-season.
Why not?
Well, I know NASCAR would probably tell him that they don't want to remove a road course from the playoffs.
I don't want to speak on behalf of NASCAR.
I'm just thinking of the things that
could
pop up.
I get it. If I'm Steve Phelps or Steve O'Donnell and I'm getting a call from Marcus, hey, I'm thinking about.
I don't think Marcus is going to do that.
I don't think Marcus would either.
I think it would have to say. I think what would. So
NASCAR is going to have to lean on Marcus to make it happen.
Marcus is going to sit idle on the Roval because he loves it. He's put a lot into the Roval. He's built this thing out. Yeah. He's like, man, no, the Roval's great. You got to convince me otherwise. He knows that the 600 was amazing. He knows the oval's great. In his mind, he's got two great things, right?
So you need to get NASCAR on a phone call and then call Marcus. And
so
he
needs to listen to podcasts, and someone else from NASCAR needs to lean on him a little bit. So if the right people start talking to him, he goes, oh, okay.
To quote my favorite movie of all time, they need to make him an offer he can't refuse.
That's right. Yeah.
And so whatever that is, Marcus, you want a championship race? Let's oval.
That's not a bad idea. If so, you think that his to further supplant that idea in the minds that matter, Marcus's route to becoming a championship race might be getting rid of the Roval to show people what a playoff oval Charlotte race looks like.
Hypothetically, and to Travis's point, this is a cutoff race this year. If that was an oval and we go there in the fall for a cutoff race, we've got all of this drama and this energy, what is the conversation leaving there going to be? Oh my God, this is amazing. Imagine if this was a championship.
Put it in the group.
Yeah, done. Yeah. And if I'm Marcus and I'm trying to get a championship race,
that's the trigger.
I'm gonna wave that carrot out there and be like, imagine a championship race here, and imagine all of the people in the industry going to be here for this. Yeah. We're going to create an energy and excitement. Yeah, that's what I'm doing if I'm Marcus.
You're not going to have that kind of feeling and emotion around the Roval.
No, the novelty's gone.
Yeah. Running a business without visibility, that's like racing without a spotter. You might think everything's fine until it's not. That's why safety culture exists, to help teams see what's really going on in real time. Safety culture gives team members on the ground an easy way to call attention to things, fix issues fast, and make sure nothing is missed. It doesn't matter if you're on a job site, in a warehouse, or running deliveries. If you're on a fast-paced team, you need tools that help everybody see clearly. Just look at our friends over at Trackhouse Racing. They are competing at the highest level of NASCAR and using safety culture to track every detail from car checklists to how each chassis runs at different racetracks. I always loved when I knew I was getting in a car that had been fast for me in the past and I was able to take it to victory lane. That's how much drivers pay attention to the details, and those details are more important than ever. When your whole crew can see what's happening, they make better calls, waste less time, and avoid costly surprises. That's how you stay ahead, not just in racing, but in every business. You want to run your business like a NASCAR team? Head to safetyculture.com/SVG and check it out.
Do we want to mention the winner?
Yeah, Ross Chastain. Sure.
I mean, we haven't talked about, I mean, for most of the year, Trackhouse has kind of been an afterthought, right?
They have.
And his performance, I think, was solid.
Well, Chastain all year, his performance has been solid, and he hasn't got enough credit for this. And if you look at the stats, what he does on restarts, you look at his average starting position, it's incredible. I mean, his average starting position is 25.0. It is 7th worst among full-time drivers this year. 7th worst. His finish position is 5th best. In an era where we hear so much about track position and how hard it is to pass, every single week Chastain's figuring it out. He is on top of his game, and I kid you not, and I know people are going to get on me for this. If you had to make a list of the most valuable driver this year, the driver who did the most, Chastain deserves consideration, if not the award.
I think the guy's a great race car driver, and when you give him the car, he goes out there and he makes some noise. What they did this weekend was phenomenal, taking a backup car from the back of the pack and winning from last. Doesn't happen. Hasn't happened in decades. And his excitement and pure emotion around any success he has is fun and infectious. It's what you want to see out of your winners when they get out of the car. And so all of those things are great. I think the one thing is like, I guess if there is one thing about his situation or him or what I just need to see it a little more frequently. And that's not a Ross thing as much as I think it might be a Trackhouse thing. This car is so fascinating because typically in all of the years that I've watched the Cup Series, when a team struggles, they struggle. They don't show up on weekend and win and then go back to struggling. But with this race car, you don't know. We might get one weekend where, the idea of Hocevar winning a race is real. The idea of even John Hunter Nemechek finding his way to victory lane has somehow become real. AJ Allmendinger. And I didn't think that would be possible for any of those teams this year. And then the Trackhouse is the best example of that. They'll go, in my mind, they'll go half a dozen races where they're just not in the conversation. They're just another, team out there grinding it out in the middle of the pack, and then show up and be the best car and win. And then idly go back to where they were for the next 6 weeks. And that to me is more a next-gen thing. It's a bit of an organizational thing. And it's a detriment, I think, to Ross a bit because I feel like that he is an all-around full package type of driver that,
he can win anywhere.
Yeah,
he's won on a road course. Yeah. He's won on a short oval. He's won on an intermediate track. He's won on a super speedway. He's a good driver. He's a great driver everywhere.
Yeah.
And Trackhouse just has not had a lot of speed in their race cars this year. Yeah. That is a fact. You look at Daniel Suarez, 30th in the standings. That tells you organizationally kind of where they're at to some degree. Yeah. Trackhouse, if they can give Ross good, consistent equipment, he's going to go and do Ross things.
Yeah.
And I think it needs to be said, too, is he is not making mistakes on the racetrack. For so long, the conversation about Ross was he crashes too much, he runs well, he's too impatient, those kind of things. We're not saying that anymore. Now this is a guy who gets better at the end of races.
Yeah, he certainly has improved on his racecraft. And but I still love his style, man. And we need him. Like, it's good when he runs good because he pushes things around. He ruffles some feathers. He might, he's tough to pass.
And he doesn't give a damn.
He doesn't.
And it's good. And he's got a personality. And it's great to see a driver win the 600 and recognize like how it's a major.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like that sometimes gets lost a little bit. He was like, the first thing over the radio was like, we won the 600 as he's sitting there screaming.
Kept saying World 600, World 600.
That was cool.
I love that. I told him that. I was like, man, I wish they would go back to calling it that. Like the Coca-Cola World 600.
I think you had a good, how you could phrase it to get both in there.
I know. I've tried to tell Marcus. I don't know why they won't just do it. Because the World 600 makes it feel like it's, the World 600 sounds like it felt.
Bigger. Yeah.
Right?
We kept the Southern 500. I mean, they have sponsors and stuff for the Southern 500. There's a way to keep these names that mean something in the title. Yeah. Brickyard 400 is another one.
Yeah. Coca-Cola presents.
Yeah, absolutely.
They did call it. There was somebody reminded me on social media. They did call it the Coca-Cola World 600 there for a little chunk of time. That's fine. Just get the world back in there because that's important.
Simple request from Dale.
Want to move on to the Xfinity race?
Let's do it.
Yeah. So, a little disappointing. The leader's in a tough spot at the end of the race. That's what Justin Allgaier said as he decided not to come to pit road and take tires at the end of the race on a late yellow. And he stayed out, and a lot of guys came down pit road and got tires, and that's what ended up winning the race. Justin, I think, as a veteran and a champion now, has earned that opportunity to make those type of decisions. You don't, every decision you make is always not going to be the right one or the correct one. He took a gamble. I'm fine with him doing that. If we don't get, a couple of those yellows late, maybe he pulls it off. But William Byron was able to take the tire advantage and a fast race car and get the win. I was just thankful that our guys crossed the finish line and didn't self-destruct on those last couple of corners because of, how difficult it was to see somebody go by.
Did you ever call an audible with your crew chief?
No, I don't think so.
See, that's what I'm kind of shocked by is that, Denny said he doesn't remember it. Like, it feels like this is something that doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen often. And I'm sure Jim will tell him don't ever do it again. I don't know,
This is your one and done.
Yeah. Yeah. Next time, from here on out, Let me handle it.
Yeah.
I think again, like Justin's earned the right to Justin's earned the right to do that, but yeah, there might need to be there will be a conversation. I don't even have to guess that him and Jim will talk about, all right, what do we do going forward? Sammy Smith's car was disqualified. They failed to meet the minimum weight requirement. And he had a solid run. Carson Kvapil was running, headed toward the top 5, busted his ass, and cost himself a ton of points there, so that was unfortunate. But Zilich with the broke back. Yeah. Come back and ran good.
Yeah, ran good. Really in the mix there at the end, and good race for him. And this is what you want to see from him on the ovals.
Yeah.
Is we've seen spurts this year where he's not so much his fault, but he just has good runs and then gets caught up in something outside of his own doing. This was a race though where he was in the mix at the end, battling for the lead, and that's what you want to see out of him as he continues to progress.
Yeah, I always want to go into Charlotte and try to get the win. Man, we came close, but going to Nashville. Nashville's been a great track for junior motorsports, especially Justin. Maybe they can rebound and get a win. Also, be interested to see, going back to Trackhouse, how they do, because that's kind of their home track. Mm-hmm. They've had some good runs there in the past.
Ross has won there before.
He has.
Well, and if they found speed this past week, and at least Ross has similar track, can he replicate the performance?
Yeah, somewhat.
They got to qualify better.
Yeah.
They have to qualify. That was the thing with the crash for him, was it looked like they had speed off the truck, which is not something they had. If they can go there and qualify and he doesn't have to do yeoman's work in the race, that will help a lot.
Yeah. All right, it's time for this month's selection of our Ultimate Racing Collector presented by Lionel Racing, the official diecast of NASCAR. Man, we've had some fun with this over the last couple of months. I've got some pictures here, no video, but Sean Cotton sent in some great pictures. He has, it looks like his basement of his house is built out. Nice flooring there. He's got a ton of sheet metal on the wall. I see a nose off of a Jimmy Means owned Xfinity car. And a lot of
scoring pylon too.
Yeah, the scoring pylon around the post in the middle. And you knew exactly.
Yeah, 1995 Brickyard 400, because your dad is atop the pylon.
Yep.
Rusty Wallace is second, and that was the finishing order for that race.
So pretty cool. He's got a suit over there with a mannequin and a couple video games. Got it all, man. Pretty impressive. Looks like he's got a projector.
Dang.
Yeah, he's got TVs, projectors, all kinds of stuff.
He's got a bumper pull down there.
A Golden Tee machine, too.
Some foosball.
This guy didn't need a new best friend, because I would totally be friends with this guy.
So anyway, Sean.
Sundrop hanging there, too.
I see that. The Struck Race poster on the wall.
That's a nice touch.
Got his diecast collection hanging around. So, Sean Cotton, man, you're a deserving winner of this month's Ultimate Racing Collector. Thank you, Lionel Racing. They are your go-to source for all your racing diecast needs. Check out their latest pre-orders at lionelracing.com. I already have the new Bud baseball car for the late model stock. I have the sample of that one. Yeah. So they make the diecast collectors will know what I'm talking about, but the prototypes, they'll make one or two prototypes, and they have a sticker on them on the windshield that's kind of the signifier of the prototype, and those are pretty valuable because those come to us or to the race teams for approval. And so they've been here in the shop, and if you got a prototype out there that's been in the hands of the team owner or the crew chief or driver and all the people in the shop going through there to approve it, it's pretty neat.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move on to Xfinity Ask Junior. I know a lot of y'all are talking about the Earnhardt documentary and appreciate all the kind words about that, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. The next final two episodes come out Thursday, and buckle up for that one. They're pretty strong. We obviously know what might be the context of those two episodes, and they're pretty tough to watch. But I'm glad everybody's enjoyed the first two, and I feel like that I'm feeling pretty comfortable and happy about the response to it. And certainly want to tell Dad's story, but don't. But to continue to celebrate who he was and his impact on the sport, and I think this does a good job. Anyhow, we got Ask Junior presented by Xfinity. NASCAR fans, booming speeds when you see it. And Xfinity Wi-Fi, well, it's booming as well. It's like the roar of a NASCAR engine on race day. Fast as a V8 engine, reliable as an elite pit crew. It gives you the power and speed of NASCAR right in your home. Choose the right plan for you and you're off to the races. It's the best streaming experience for NASCAR and all your favorite sports. Xfinity Wi-Fi is booming, and they'll raise the bar, and the stream goes into overdrive. Xfinity is a proud premier partner of NASCAR. They've been a great partner here for us at the Dale Jr. Download. They do some good things in this sport, and we're very thankful for them, that they want to spend their marketing dollars with NASCAR, and we should all support that. So, and it's a good product. Anyhow, we're up to almost 500 people in here.
Heck yeah.
Yep. Andrew's with us. Andrew, you got some questions for us today, hopefully?
There are a bunch of different directions we can take this one. So
want to go in the good one.
Okay. This is from Lisa. What the hell, Dale? Why didn't you cheers everyone on the Amazon Prime set after the race?
Why didn't I cheers? I
Yeah,
did.
You didn't cheers everyone.
I did. Did you
cheers
not see the
Ross.
video?
I did.
I cheers. Oh,
Everybody.
I'm not doing that.
What?
There's beer to drink. I don't need.
What?
It's a group thing. It's a group effort. Did you just not see it, or you purposely are like, screw it, I'm just drinking?
Yeah, I cheers the winner. He gave me the beer. I don't know. I mean, it's all right. The one that won the race got cheersed.
I respect the fact that you were the only guy on there who really seemed interested, maybe besides Ross, in drinking the beer.
Yeah, I don't know. I was. It was fun drinking a beer on the post-race show.
Maybe this should be a thing. Every post-race show, you have a beer toast with the winner.
We do it here at Junior Motorsports.
That's what I'm saying. So incorporate it into the broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of what we've done for years, so it's not that foreign or unique to me because we've been doing it here at Junior Motorsports after every win, and we win a lot of races.
You're welcome, Prime, for the idea.
Jordan. To your point there, Xfinity Racing actually sent us a tweet and said, can we get you to drink a margarita post-Mexico?
Yes.
See?
All right.
I mean, I'm going to have
Sign you
one
up for
off
it.
camera. If you want to just,
Can we get one off
all you're going to have to do is like turn the camera. I'll be drinking one. I promise you. I don't think we get to leave till Monday, so I'm going to have a damn couple margaritas after that one. You know what? I'm not even the post-show. That's Corey. That's Carl. That's Danielle. And I just happened to be plugged in. I felt like I was a guest as much as the winner of the race was in that moment. So it wasn't a big deal for me because I wasn't on. Like they were.
Oh,
that's their house.
You weren't working.
That's their house.
Right.
Because we're sitting there between segments, and the director's like, he's listening. He's got his headphones on. He's like, "Is Dale part of the next segment? Steve's not. Okay, Steve, you're out. Dale is Dale. Yep, Dale, you're in. You're in. Stay there, Dale. But Dale, scoot over. Justin's coming. Justin's here. Winner here. Next segment. Dale, you're out. You're out. Okay. I mean, that's how it goes. You're just like, all right, man, see y'all later. I'm done.
You just do what you're told.
No, Dale, you're still in. Oh, okay. We're still here.
This next question is from John Nevels on Twitter. And he wants to know, do you agree or disagree that A1 steak sauce is for people who can't grill a proper steak?
We have talked about this. I feel like you're asking this question like we've never had this conversation on the show.
Oh, well, well, Jordan, what do you think?
No.
I'm a steakhouse. Okay.
I've known this question, and I haven't even been on the show last year.
Andrew.
All right.
Did you not do your job this week?
Huh?
Did you not do your job this week?
What do you mean?
You're supposed to come up with good questions, and apparently you're just recycling.
Dang,
Well,
Jordan.
these are fan questions.
Yeah. How dare you? He's just trying to
All
stir
right,
the
we'll
No, we're not moving on. I love A1 sauce a whole lot. And I put it on every steak. Good ones, bad ones, middle of the road steaks. Even if you brought me the best steak in town, I'm going to want to put A1 on it. And if that makes me a psycho, I'm a psycho. So Are we clear?
Enjoy your steak however you want.
Are we clear on that?
There you go.
Yeah. I will eat a steak without it, but it's like every time I'll be in the I don't go to the steakhouses that often, but sometimes you go to there's some kind of famous ones, like when you go to Indianapolis. What's the one?
St. Elmo's.
St. Elmo's, right? So you go to Indy, you got to go to St. Elmo's, right? Everybody goes. You got to get the
cocktail
shrimp cocktail, and which I do. I love it. I love a shrimp cocktail. It's like free calories, man. Shrimp don't even have calories. And so you could literally eat.
Here we go.
You could eat like 500 pounds of shrimp cocktail and not gain a pound.
That plus beer,
yeah,
and you are.
That's the way my mind works. Yeah, I could drink a 6-pack and a pound of shrimp and not gain any weight. It's weird.
It's a great diet. Dale's diet plan.
I know that's not true, but that's what I believe. But I'll go to those places where you have these amazing, supposed to be this best steak they got, and I'm like, it's gonna be good. I don't even want that house. I don't even want that house sauce. It ain't A1. Don't even bring it. I'm just gonna eat it plain. You ain't got A1. I don't even want the house sauce. I'm smart enough to know that if I'm at the best steakhouse in town, or they think they're the best steakhouse in town, you don't ask them for A1. But like if you go to like the the Western Steer or the Quincy's, or you're like, hey man, bring that A1 out. I know you got it back there.
I know you have it back there,
dude. I get
like
the
it's
big
hidden.
jar. They have they have the different sizes. Boy, I get the big guy.
Well,
at the
if you're
grocery
gonna go
store.
through all of it,
Yeah,
more you
'cause
spend, more you save.
I do a lot of probably not entirely good, but A1 sauce, buffalo sauce, and soy sauce. Dude, I learned
I
learned a little
soy
hack
sauce.
on. So I get these meals sent to me, and so there's this. So the meals traditionally will have often they'll have green beans in them, and I mean green beans are, you put a little salt on them, they're okay, but they're kind of like a bland side, right? Dude, you put a little soy sauce on your green beans,
Oh,
that's like
I never would have thought of that.
I know.
You cook them though. Cook them in soy sauce. Though.
That's-
That's the way to do it. With
Oh.
a little bit of seasoning, a little bit of pepper,
Yeah.
red pepper. That's the
Yeah.
way to do it.
So I like your idea, but I also put a little soy on them.
Yep.
On the plate, and it's like, now I'm eating these things. Now I'm liking them.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know. All right, I'm gonna have to go try that.
Yeah.
Jordan, are you a good cook?
I'm a great cook.
Oh, really?
I will cook. I cook the best Italian food and seafood around.
There he goes. Wow,
Dang.
he didn't even.
Italians.
Hey,
my go-to,
speaking
though.
of food, look at here, what I got. Jerky boys. It's jerky. No, man.
It is good.
It is
It's
good. It's
very
so good. Well, honestly, I'm holding a bag of the best beef jerky made in the entire world, likely in the universe. And we don't really have knowledge of that, but it's possible. I would put it up against any alien jerky.
Alien jerky.
It is the best. So y'all know, I gotta say this real quick. So y'all know that I partnered with Blake Cook about Filter Time, right? Our subscription air filter business for your home, and we've got a lot of customers probably in this chat that are Filter Time subscribers. And I met Blake's brother. Blake's brother's been making this jerky for about 2 years, and it's small batch, and he's a very small company, and he lives in Nashville and makes it in Nashville. And it's their grandfather's recipe, and I've been trying it, and it's the best jerky I've ever had. It really is. And so we started selling it in the gift shop here at Junior Motorsports right over here, and just trying to help him get his business going. And it's so good. And I was like, Blake, I kind of want to invest like we did with Filter Time together. And so me and Blake came together and offered to buy a big chunk of the business to be partners with Blake's brother, Christian. So Jerky Boys, I am an investor in this business. I love it. I eat it. I got 6 bags here down beside my 6 bags I'm going to take home.
Holy moly.
And I get them out of our store right here almost a couple times a week. But I'll open this bag. It's 60 calories per serving. There's 3 servings per bag, so 180 calories. in a bag. And man, dude, I'll open this thing up and have it for lunch sometimes. Check it out, man. I think we're going to kick some ass with this. I really do, because I think it's that good. And so that's why I bought in.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Got time for a few more questions. This is coming from Troy. You know, Ross Chastain has the watermelon smash. Stewart has like the fence climb. Edwards has the backflip. What's, in your opinion, the best celebration out there in NASCAR?
I mean, the straightaway long burnouts are cool.
Oh, yeah.
I do appreciate a no burnout. I like a good burnout. I also like a no burnout. You know, I like the variety.
What was the pressure like to do a burnout and not make it's a good one when you won?
None. You're happy. You don't give a shit. You're like, you're doing the burnout like, oh, I'm gonna get judged on this one. Yeah. You're doing the burnout like, you know how when you get pissed off, you got to go outside and scream or yell. That's the burnout.
Okay.
The burnout is it's letting all this happiness out. And so, now there's some guys that get creative with it, steering wheel out. I know they're trying they're cool. Posturing. They're trying to, do something cool and fun. And I like that. I like a variety.
I like when they get out through the roof hood instead of out the window. No?
No, because that gets me into my conspiracy theories where I think that they got some kind of cheat that they're trying to, like, hey, man.
Like when they stand on the roof of the car?
Nope. He said when they open the hatch and come out the hatch. That's what we're talking about.
How are they cheating there?
Well, the hatch could be rigged in a certain way to aerodynamically, and if he opens it, then the NASCAR can't take it because it's been opened and
it's not sealed.
It's not sealed anymore in its original position.
It's why drivers there was a time, and you know this, there was a time when drivers were not allowed to stand on the roof of their cars.
Yeah. So anytime a driver opens the hatch, I'm going to consider you were cheating. I'm sorry.
I mean,
every time, there's no exceptions in my book.
I'm assuming every car that wins is cheating somehow.
Every car that wins is illegal. Right, that is true. Right. But if you open the hatch, that's where it was. That's where the cheat was. Sorry. I mean, and maybe I might be wrong in many cases, but I'm just going to assume.
Okay. Jordan, what do you think's the best victory celebration out there?
When Kyle Busch does something aggressive on the track to win a race, and he does the bow, and it's kind of like a middle. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But the watermelon smash is pretty cool because the fans get into it.
It's unique.
I want to see drivers start mocking each other's celebrations.
Oh man, could you imagine like if someone raced Kyle Busch real hard and then went out?
Chase Elliott did it. Remember Chase Elliott in 2020? They had the kerfuffle at Darlington, and Kyle crashed Chase, and then Chase won a truck race, and then he did the bow.
Oh yeah, that's what I like. Who are the drivers that get out of the car and have the most emotion? Like
Ross.
Ross,
right? Of recent memory, obviously.
I asked that question because he got out, and we saw like how much that meant to him. Bell.
Yeah.
I mean, I love drivers that get out and are like, I could not be happier in this moment, and you can sense it. It drives me crazy when guys get out and they act so nonchalant about it. Like, yeah,
I agree.
Awesome.
Briscoe at Darlington last year.
Yeah,
because it meant something.
Yes.
Like it was one of the Southern 500, and it was the surprise and everything else that carried with it. Yeah,
I feel like Reddick's pretty good about celebrating.
Reddick's good. Blaney's good. Blaney at Martinsville last year was really good.
True. Yeah, I agree. Denny's are pretty good because he's like
he's playing.
He's happy he won. He's happy he won, but he also plays the crowd, which is good. It just drives me crazy when they get out and they don't.
Yeah, you want to race. Enjoy.
They just don't have anything to deliver.
Even if it's it doesn't have to be a crown jewel like the Southern 500. Like it could be just any race.
Winning races is hard, dude.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
I agree. We got time for one more question.
Let's do it.
Coming from
somebody said Gregson. Gregson's a good one. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, throwing up.
I don't think that's
my
favorite. Some people were saying Allmendinger.
What is he do?
He says
he screams.
He screams.
No, he screams the same thing over and over and over. Let's go! It's like over and over. Like from the minute he crosses, from the minute AJ crosses the finish line, he glitches. And he just screams every time. Like Like he's in his mind. He's like, I want to say something else, and he opens his mouth and "Let's go" comes out. So like in his head, he's like, "All right, guys, good job," but "Let's go" keeps coming out over and over again because he's like he's glitched.
He needs a reboot.
Yeah, somebody needs to hit Control Alt Delete. Control Alt Delete. Bring up the task manager in that service. Stop.
Yeah, that's a hard reset.
Yep. Shut down. Let's shut down. Let's go. Restart it.
The thing with AJ though, and I think with some of these drivers though, is when you don't do it all the time,
Yeah.
and when you have the struggles.
I know, but
that's why
he's only got one. He's got one
default
thing, and it's "Let's go," and he just keeps saying it until he gets finally to home. I guess he finally drives into his driveway and gets out of his car, and it just ends. He just stops saying it. In my head, he's screaming it all the way home. All right.
What'd you think of this?
Yeah. He finally gets in the house and can mash that button. Oh gosh! Finally.
What just happened the last 3 hours?
Yep.
Doesn't remember it. Okay. Last question from Troy. He was at Fan Day. He saw the Bud 8 car, the baseball car, was very excited. How did it feel to finally reveal that to the fans?
Oh man, it felt good. Yeah, pretty impressive looking car. A pretty car.
I heard Ryan, who designed the car, came in the studio and counted every single stitch to match it.
I could see him doing that.
Like, I love the detail on this.
I believe that. Yeah. Now it's sometimes, man, when you'll put a throwback or a throwback on a different body or a different chassis, it looks kind of funky. So, but this one looks really. I'm happy because it looks real good on that body style. But the late model stock's just a sexy race car. Everything's going to look good on it. But yeah, we're going to Anderson, South Carolina in August to race the Cars Tour with that. So I'm looking forward to get back behind the wheel, having some fun. Never been to Anderson before. And it's a tough little racetrack, it looks like. Watched a race on Flow this past Saturday. And Cade Brown won a late model stock race up there. But, yeah, looking forward to racing some more. I miss it. Well, we appreciate it, everybody. It's always fun talking to everybody on here, and we're thankful we got 1,000 folks that hopefully are going to go check out jerkyboys.com. But also check out Xfinity Wi-Fi. Thank you, Xfinity, for bringing us the Ask Junior segment. Be sure to check out our Xfinity Wi-Fi and experience the booming speeds for yourself. It's fast, and as NASCAR fans, we know fast when we see it. Xfinity Wi-Fi isn't just fast, it's booming. Choose the right plan for you. You're off to the races, the best streaming experience for NASCAR and all your favorite sports, Xfinity Wi-Fi. They don't just raise the bar, they put streaming in overdrive, and they're a proud premier partner of NASCAR and a great friend here with us at Dirty Mo Media. So thank you, Xfinity, and we'll see y'all later. All right, it's time for the Dirty Mo Dose segment brought to you by FanDuel. We do have the odds for the race this weekend in Nashville, and we have Russell on the phone. We also have Tim's in the booth joining us today. So, all right, let's just go ahead and get after the 600 here. Did anybody have a good night?
I had a solid night. I wouldn't say great.
Did you make any money?
I made some money.
That's
very,
a good
very
night.
minor. I had Byron
Dude,
to win.
that's a good night.
Or it would have been really, really good. But
that's a good night, buddy.
I know. Fade Larson. That was my goal.
Is that right?
Yep.
I played some baseball bets yesterday, and I came out ahead when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
But it was stressful.
Turn a profit.
Yeah, it was very stressful. Fun was not had. Even winning a little money, it was very stressful.
Yeah. You start asking yourself, why am I doing this?
Yep, I did something we're not supposed to do.
Oh, no.
I chased the loss.
Oh, no.
But I won it back.
Yes.
I hate that.
That is stressful.
I hate to admit it. Now I went down, and I placed another bet, won back my losses and then some, and said I'm gonna leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, back to racing, back to the 600. What bets did you cash?
I cashed a matchup bet, Christopher Bell over Kyle Larson. Nice
Wow.
price, plus 145.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really happy about that.
Man, I would not taken that gamble, but you did.
Yeah, I didn't like Larson's after crashing in Indy. I was like, I think he's gonna have a tough night.
Somebody might say that wouldn't affect him. But apparently it might have.
I think so.
Yeah. Hey,
I
you just had a hunch.
I think he was the emotions were so high. I mean, at Indy, why not?
Oh man, no way.
Excuse me for thinking that he could push.
He forgets everything. He's Jimmy Spencer. No, Jimmy Spencer never forgets.
Never
Sorry,
forgets.
he's the opposite of Jimmy Spencer. Yeah. Come on. He got to Charlotte, hit the reset button. He was good as new.
That's what I thought.
There was no hangover.
Oh,
You thought he was hungover.
yeah.
Not
I wouldn't be that juiced to run that
That's
race
right.
after that.
No way. Dude,
Okay, I was wrong.
I don't know. You could still be right.
Look at Kyle. I'll ask Kyle this week.
Well, he's not going to
He's
admit it.
never going to admit it.
No athlete is
Dude,
going to
I
admit
was-
that.
Yep. I was mentally drained, tired, and busted my ass. That was my fault. Well, that was the only bet you cashed?
I didn't bet that much. I bet Byron to win in that one. So yeah.
Yep.
That was
Damn,
it.
boy, you lost that bet.
Yeah, that was
Shoot.
very disappointing.
He lost in fantastic fashion.
Yeah. Damn it, Denny.
I would try to use a different adjective, but that's the one that came to my mind immediately.
It's tough when you leave 280 laps
Yep.
and you don't win.
Win all 3 stages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's dominant. That's
You were just like 6 laps to go, that money just flew away.
Well,
you thought, man, maybe he'll rally, didn't you? Because everybody else did. When anyone lost the lead,
yeah.
they didn't drive away. And you're probably sitting there thinking, oh, come on, he's still got a shot.
Oh, Prime, you guys were pissing me off with the overhead camera because I could just see Ross catching him. And I'm like, but I don't want to see this. And
Yes.
there's too many laps to go. And
Yep.
I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, that was
Yep.
painful to watch.
So Ross caught Byron at one point, but then fell back. Did you think then? Okay, I'm going.
You know what makes me feel good about when I lose?
What?
To text a buddy the money emoji with the wings. Did you text somebody that emoji after that?
No, I was at the bar.
You
so
might
I
have felt better.
I was at the bar, just got myself a drink.
Next
I'm like,
time-
we're doing this.
Next time you lose or have a bad beat, text me that emoji.
Okay, I will.
I bet you'll feel better.
I might.
You'll be like, it's just money flying away. Just look, it's just an emoji. Nothing.
I'll do that. This how my night's going.
Yep. Russell, did everything that you thought would happen at the 600 happen? Did your predictor, is all your software still in good standing with the community?
We had a lot of upsets. I feel like in the 600.
Ooh. Did the predictor predict the upsets?
No, not really. But I would
No?
say overall, like we had Ross Chastain a little higher than I thought he should have been.
Yeah.
I like that. We had Byron was going to be second. so
Even
that-
after, oh, yeah. What is the,
it
so
still had Larson. It doesn't know that Larson crashed.
it doesn't know that he was mentally hungover.
Yeah. So the computer can't do that.
Man,
I have to stick up for TJ. He wasn't there, but
we
you
haven't
said
even mentioned his name.
you bashed Brad Kozlowski last week, Russ.
Well, I didn't know TJ wasn't going to be the spotter. He didn't do that.
Oh,
Top 5.
I said Brad was going to do it.
I know, and
Yeah.
Russ said no.
I had Brad in the top 10 finish.
Well, you would have paid.
What was the other top 10s I had? Josh Berry,
Yeah.
he ran 12.
You missed a couple were right outside.
Jeez. We had some
No, Stenhouse we had.
Yeah.
that's Stenhouse.
Was he like 11th? Yeah.
Damn it. Well, hey, we got a new thing that we're going to do this week. All right. So we think we're going to be parlaying the best manufacturer, best finishing Ford, Chevrolet, Toyota. So let's think about that. We're going to Nashville. We can talk favorites. We got the odds now. So what are the odds on? Give us top 5 or so.
Top 5, you have Kyle Larson plus 500, Hamlin plus 550, Bell plus 600, Byron plus 650,
Where's
and
Chastain?
Blaney plus 850. Chastain is 7th at plus 1200.
What do you think? Where's the value?
Ah, man.
I would put money back on Ross.
Yeah. have
Well, he
to.
is one of my favorites
Yeah.
this week that I like. And plus 1200 is nice, but I think because he won,
Because he won what?
it jumps up.
Nashville's their place.
I know, but it jumps up. He was probably going to be plus
You wait on him to
2200.
qualify?
Yes.
Okay.
Russ, what's the model say?
It's very, very similar. Larson, Hamlin, Bell, Chase Elliott, Byron. Then I have Ross, and then Blaney's 7th.
Gotcha. All right, so let's try to think about best finishing Ford.
I'll give you Ryan Preece.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I like Ryan Preece too. He's 4th there last year. He's won trucks there twice. Career year for him.
All right.
It's going to be a good price on that, too.
Yes. Best finishing Chevy.
Oh, this one's tough.
To me, Larson. Bounce back week.
All
Just
right.
getting rid of that hangover's gone.
Yep.
I could see Larson, Byron, or Chastain.
All right. Best finishing Toyota.
Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin.
Agree.
No C-Bell?
I don't think so.
What's the number say?
Well, it's not that he's not good there, but Denny's just been so good there. He's led at least 70 laps.
All right.
Should have won last year.
We'll parlay those three together. Preece, Larson, Denny, best finishing in that manufacturer for Ford, Chevy, and the Toyota. That ought to be a pretty solid
It would be.
payout.
Yeah. With Preece in there, that thing shoots up.
Golly, I like Preece a lot. I've been messing with him every time I see him, and he doesn't know what the hell to think.
Yeah.
So I saw him at Wilkesboro, and when I was walking toward, so he's a modified guy, short track guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm walking up toward him, and I'm like, I like start shaking my fists, and like getting all excited, like I can hardly contain myself. And he's like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Short track racing, man. Like this is it gets me pumped. I bet it does you too, right? You're pumped too, right?" And he's like, you're acting weird." And
Didn't know what to do
and
with
so
you.
we've been texting each other back and forth. Short track racing! Exclamation points.
Russ, is there a driver that is low that you think should be high or vice versa?
Well, I still am off the Keselowski train too. He's never finished top 10 there. Bowman's another one that I don't like.
Well, you perhaps a personal vendetta against him, I think.
Yeah.
True. But he's never finished better than 14th there. So, yeah, I'd say those are your big ones that stick out to me.
Yeah.
Where do you think Ross Chastain would have been placed had he not won? How much does a win affect the next week or something like that?
Well, so he's been really good at Nashville, so I think he would have been high anyway. So, like, he was top 5s there, and then the other one was last year where it was a disaster in overtime. He was second in overtime.
Then he got wrecked.
Yeah.
Dang. Any dark horses?
I like Hocevar as our dark horse. He's got a truck race win there. He's been really fast lately. He was. How much do you relate concrete here, Dale? So he was good at Bristol earlier this year.
Yeah, I do a lot. So like, yeah, there are drivers that just love so concrete. Drivers are sensation driven. You run good on a specific tire versus another one. You run good on specific surfaces, and so, he may be a guy that's just like I don't know why, but I'm just always going to run good on concrete because of the ability that he has feeling the car and driving the car to that limit. He understands what he's feeling that the concrete gives him, where other drivers don't like concrete. They don't like the sensation that it gives them, and they prefer a different type of surface. So he may be a guy that's just always going to, succeed or have good runs on those type of racetracks. So yeah, I could buy into that.
Yeah, and I also like Allmendinger again too.
I like Allmendinger too.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That was mine.
All right, man. Well, hey, it's some good information. I like that parlay. Thank you, Russ, for giving us some time today. The Dirty Moto segment brought to you by FanDuel. They're the premier gaming destination in the United States. All right, it's time for the white flag, the teardown with our friend Jordan here. And Jeff Gluck dropped on Monday. A great show. Jordan was at the 600. Jeff was at the Indy 500, and they had a lot to talk about, both seeing each race from a different perspective. Always a great show. Actions Detrimental with Denny Hamlin dropped on Monday as well. Great to hear Denny's take from behind the wheel. He was part of that race, battling for the lead throughout. the entire night. So great information on his experience and their struggle there to get the car full of fuel late in the race. Door Bumper Clear will drop later today. They are joined by Larry McReynolds. So should be a great episode to check out. Speed Street comes out Wednesday. We can't wait to hear what Connor Daly has to say about his race. Awesome to see him leading. And again, close to grabbing the win at Indy. And Herman Schrader is also going to drop on Wednesday. Our guest segment will be out tomorrow as well here at the Dale Jr. Download. And Thursday, another episode of Bless Your Heart. Amy and I had a lot of fun doing this show, so looking forward to another episode on Thursday. And this Sunday, this is a special announcement. We're going to do a live show at 1:30 Central from the Fan Zone in Nashville. It'll be a half-hour show presented by Hellman's Mayonnaise. I'll be joined by my booth mates, Steve Letarte and Adam Alexander. Again, in the Fan Zone Sunday at the racetrack, 1:30 Central Time. A live 30-minute episode of our Dirty Mo Media content, just previewing the race coming up that day. So it should be a lot of fun. Thanks for tuning in, Jordan. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. A lot of fun.
Yes, sir. Awesome, man. We'll see everybody tomorrow.